Hello and welcome to RIMWORLD. My name is Tobal and this is a new Let's Play of one of my favorite colony, survival, whatever you want to call it, management games around. It's amazing. It's one of the, if not the highest rated game on Steam at this particular moment. It's been out for a little bit of time now. We are in version 1.0, of course, so we're way past release, but even back since Alpha like 9, this game has had so much potential and the modding community has been outstanding. And we are, in fact, speaking of mods, we are going to be incorporating quite a few mods into this Let's Play. So if you want to pause the video to take a look at the mods that I'll be using and showing off in this Let's Play, go ahead and do that now. And we'll scroll down to see the rest of them here. Now only the ones that are checked green are currently enabled. Some of these are either not up to the 1.0 version or they've been replaced by actually being incorporated into version 1.0, or they're just not really what I enjoyed. I tried them out, didn't like them. So some of them are things that just change some default behavior. So for example, pick up and haul, people actually realize that they've got pockets and they've got maybe a backpack and they can actually store things and carry them with them. Along with something like while you're up, where people will say, hey, I'm way over here, I need to go home, but you know what, there's a piece of wood here, I'll grab the piece of wood and come home with it. So those two combined really help to make the hauling job a lot less painful. Okay, so we're going to jump right into a new colony. I'm going to take the crash landed scenario, and I think I'm going to be using prepare carefully, and because I'm going to be kind of min-maxing our start, I think I'm going to try a pretty rough difficulty. I've been debating between Cassandra and Phoebe, probably not Randy Random here. Randy does these random events, and I mean it could be a horrible, you know, absolute monster of a drop on round one here in the first opening salvo, or it could be nothing at all. So I think I'd rather stick with something that has a smoother curve. The difference between these two is that Phoebe has a lot of time between disasters, but I think I'm going to stick with Cassandra and I'm going to try it on rough, which is one step below kind of the hardest difficulty. The nice thing about this though is that we can change the difficulty and the storyteller at any given time. So if we think this is too hard, I will try to change that because I want this to be an enjoyable yet challenging playthrough, but not something we get stomped on the first 5 minutes out. Maybe down the road we'll do a super hardcore savage run, but for the moment I just want to kind of experience this. We're going to add some of our Discord members to the group, and I'm also going to reuse the reload any time setting just in case I hit a snag like a crash or something and I don't want to lose the entire video. Okay, so we'll go next. I think I'm only going to do 50%, mostly because it takes forever to generate the world when you do a 100% map. But the strategy for this Let's Play is mostly just going to see what happens. If you guys don't know what this is, it is basically this scenario, for example, is a crash landed scenario. You and your fellow shipmates have evacuated your vessel. Maybe you're a colony ship, maybe you're a trading ship, and you're landing somewhere on this planet, which I think is interesting because you're able to select the site. So in my opinion, it's almost more of a uncontrolled or maybe a semi-controlled descent into this planet. I like to think that we are part of a colony. That's why we have such excellent and well-traded people. Traded, is that a word? We'll see. Okay, so this is the world map. You can actually settle on any of these tiny little hexagons you want, which is so incredibly crazy if you think about how big this world map is. You also, in the 1.0, or maybe it was even the last alpha before that, you have the ability to form caravans and travel around the world map and visit different people and do different missions. So we want to take a look at factions and find out that we are neutral to the purple and the yellow people, the Republican League of Histicodair and the Kin League of Kolen. The rest of these tribes or unions or what have you are all hostile to us, so we want to be near purple and yellow, if only to have some neighbors who don't want to cut our throats. So this, for example, wouldn't be too bad. I generally prefer to be two things. One, either on or near a river. And the other, well, maybe three things. On or near a river, very close to a road, if not on a road. And finally, I like to be on a mountainous terrain, because I find that the mountainous zones tend to have really good natural defenses. So you can set up your base and not have to worry so much about getting just absolutely slaughtered like you would in the open plains. You have to completely wall off all of your sides. And you also have a lot more resources to mine when you're doing a mountainous start or a hilly start as well. I don't see any roads. I mean, it makes sense that there's no road directly over a mountain tile, but I kind of wanted to snag something like up here. You see how this is both a mountainous terrain and a river, but I want it to be a little bit closer to the road. So I'm going to be a little picky here. We'll probably spend a couple minutes finding a good site, or we'll find it right away. That's really close, and I think they get offended if you settle too close to someone else's faction. I also tend to like the temperate forest as opposed to the tropical rainforest. And we can also check the other biomes. This is only half the world, as you can see, so the rest of this world hasn't been, I don't know, explored, we'll say. This is just a one continent type of world. We haven't quite gone over to the new world yet. Maybe we'll do that one day. These, again, would not be bad, but except they're already so close to a... I mean, they already hate us anyways, but I think that would only further exacerbate the situation. What else can we look for here? We could do random. That would kind of make the sense as a, you know, you're falling from the sky and you have nowhere to go. But I don't like that just because you really can get yourself screwed if you don't pick some basic good resources for your group here. Well, I do see a couple decent spots over here. Now, we are near some yellow tribes, which isn't bad. These are large hills. They're not exactly the mountainous areas that I normally like, but it doesn't have to be, you know, it's not set in stone. It's just more of a personal preference. Here we go. What's over here? This is a mountainous river. This is a mountainous river. It is all year round growing period, so it must be right in the equatorial region. Normally, you might have your game year lasts 60 days, so they're actually months kind of scrunched together here. So September, October is September, April, May, for example. So you get about half of a year normally, and it tells you that your growing period might be 50 out of the 60 days. Well, here in the equatorial zone, we have an all year round growing period, which is going to be really nice for us to grow crops. That would not be bad. Now, the only downside to this particular tile is it has caves. Caves include and come with some lovely, lovely bugger friends that can cause you a little bit of grief and frustration, although I think that, to me, that just spells fun. So maybe we'll stick with that. I don't mind caves all that much. We can actually exterminate all the bugs in the caves, so that might be an early, an early-ish goal for us, is to kind of clear out all these caves. We are at a pretty good spot from a main highway, an ancient asphalt road here. We're also pretty close to 2 purple towns, which we can trade with, and a couple other enemy camps, which basically are points of interest. So this will be a lively area, and we won't have to travel all that far in order to fulfill missions. Now, are we too close to this guy? Let's see what happens if we hit next. Again, Mountainous River, all year round, and it has caves. Okay, they didn't complain about it, so I think we're good. So, we're going to use the Prepare Carefully mod, which actually lets you pick and choose who's going to be in your colony. You can actually create everything down to the hair, what pants they're wearing. They happen to be wearing fox fur pants, for example, that are all red or something like that. There's a lot you can do with this. It's a really fun little mod. The problem, though, or I guess the challenge, is that sometimes you can go overboard and you can really give yourself, literally tons and tons and tons of goodies. The way you can kind of limit yourself is by using point limits. And what this does is it takes the amount of points you generated when you first started, when you basically first got here and you said, let's go hit cancel, Prepare Carefully. So it generated an amount of points here at random. So, Crosby, Max, Shonya, they all have a certain amount of skills, and it all equals to about 11,000 points. So if you do point limits, it kind of tells you how close to baseline you are with what your current setup is. So I've already made a preset here, and it's from our Discord. So we have Cyberdank, Adnamare, Logan, which is actually Deadway in Discord, but Logan, and Azazel. So I've tried to set it pretty close to the point limit. Now it's going to be a little bit off because I had a different set. When I first came in to Prepare Carefully, it had generated a different point total than it did when I made this group originally. So this isn't too far off the mark. We are kind of limited. We don't have a ton of great equipment. The one thing I forgot, though, I think, when I took another look at it, is I didn't give us any starting steel. So I'm going to drop about 100 extra steel. It only bumped the points up by about 200 or so. Not that big of a thing. I don't think we're overpowered by any means. We've got 2 rifles, 2 basic pistols, a couple components, some medicine, Timberwolf, pet, and some meals and silver. So nothing out of the ordinary. That's kind of roughly what you start with. Your pet, I think, is normally random. And I don't think you have Glitter World medicine. I did drop that off in case any of us have really, really bad injuries or sickness. So about our little colony here and the colonists who inhabit it. Cyberdank is our cook and also our doctor. So this will be Dr. Cyberdank for the most part. I tried to basically make it so that everyone has a permanent job that they're almost always doing. So for example, Cyberdank is almost always going to be cooking meals. Once the base gets going, normally your chef is always very busy. Adnamare is our planting and social person. So when they're not planting and harvesting, they're going to be able to talk to people, interact with them, and trade or try to convince a prisoner to join us, that kind of stuff. I think I might also bump up. Nah, we'll leave the animal stuff alone for the moment. Logan is our constructor and also our crafter. So that's kind of a trade-off. You normally have spurts of construction. So we're going to prioritize construction first. And whenever Logan is not doing something, she'll work on the crafting. So you can basically turn raw stone, for example, into some nice blocks that you can use for flooring. Azazel finally is our scientist. Also a little bit of interest in the social side of the house because they were a political activist. I did try to make some of the backgrounds make sense. So for example, Cyberdank was a medical student. Didn't quite work out, so he actually wound up going on a spaceship and becoming a chef. But he was also used by the doctor to clean out wounds, which is kind of disgusting. I have no idea why that particular backstory fits, but it does. Well, the traits also, I tried to do it so we're not super, super strong. So I have, normally for everyone, I have 2 good traits and 1 bad trait. So Cyberdank is a gourmand, which means he occasionally has an urge to overeat. Basically like me any given night when I want to go out, have a fast food at like 3 in the morning. We've also got Iron-Willed and Jogger. So Jogger is a permanent movement speed boost, which I feel like you're out cooking, you're out doing your medical stuff. You'll have to respond pretty quickly to medical emergencies. Iron-Willed is basically lowering the threshold for a mental break pretty low. So that means that Cyberdank will not have a mental breakdown if, the sky turns gray for 2 days or something like that. Adnamare, it was a botanist and didn't really work out too well as an amateur botanist, so they decided to get into the spaceship salesman job and took them around the world a bit. They did get quite a few boosts and reductions, but for the most part, they have all of the skills. Now, some people are incapable of certain things, so Cyberdank can't clean, Adnamare can't cook, and Logan can't handle animals. That's fine. Everyone else can kind of parry off that and, help it out. I think I'm going to change Adnamare's hair. I don't feel like Adnamare is a spiky-haired person, and I don't know if Logan or Cyberdank spouts an afro. Well, you know what, Cyberdank? I don't know. We'll leave it as is for the moment. Logan with that beautiful bob, Azazel with some kind of a cutie or cutty. Yeah, sure, we'll say that's fine. What else is going on here? So we've got Logan as the blacksmith's son and chief engineer. So he's always been good with his hands. He went out into space and he's here on this colony ship or whatever we happen to be with the good construction and crafting skills. I also didn't check out Adnamare's traits, by the way. Beautiful, sanguine, and a body purist. A body purist is kind of a negative. That basically Adnamare does not want anything to do with technology in their body. So if they don't want bionics, they don't want anything because they are, very much in tune with nature. Azazel, on the other hand, Azazel is our researcher. So they're on the cusp of technology and everything about technology fascinates them. So they are a transhumanist. They love and would dream of having enhanced artificial body parts. So if they do happen to get that, I don't know if they have a permanent negative if they don't, but I think they get a huge positive if they do have any kind of a artificial body part. So that's something we could actually do is we could literally queue up a job to cut Azazel's arm off and give them a bionic arm, which I think is amazing and the level of complexity that is in a game. Also, we challenged it. We made Azazel a night owl, so that's a bit of a challenge. We have to work that into our schedule, and also Iron-willed. Logan is he's basically a dwarf, right? He's super crafty and big on construction. So Logan is as close to a dwarf as we have, and industrious, optimist, and for the negative, we gave Logan creepy breathing. It works out. We'll just say we'll roll with it. I mean, there are some in here. I just think creepy breathing is so funny that we can just roll with it, and we'll see who sidles up to Logan and becomes her lover down the road. Okay, so this is our initial colony crew. These are the 4 people that will be journeying onward with us and hopefully surviving the first couple of days, weeks, and months, depends on how long we go. My goal for the game, of course, is to escape the planet down the road. You do have the ability to build a ship. So maybe we'll say that we are a colony. That's why we have such good traits. Like, we've been psychologically audited, and we've been put through processing to make sure we're not super, super crazy or we're unhinged. But, everyone's got their quirks and maybe some creepy breathing. But for the most part, this is a solid group. But maybe our colony ship fell apart and we had to evacuate. So that's our backstory. We have no relationships up front. I want to just see what develops. And this is our starting equipment. Let's do it, guys. I'm going to, real quick, overwrite this because I did change Adnamir's hair. Very, very important. All right. You spent too many points. Oh, we can uncheck that and it'll basically ignore it. I wanted to make sure I'm relatively close, but I don't feel like I cheated all that much. Again, because I used the Prepare Carefully mod, I am bumping the difficulty up higher than I normally would have it. So we are up a notch. It's going to be pretty challenging, and we're going to see if we can even make it. The 3/4 of you awake in your crypto-sleep sarcophagi to the sound of sirens and ripping metal. You barely get to the escape pods before the ship is torn asunder. Sometime later, you land on this unknown RIMWORLD. Downward they dive. Okay, so everyone has a safe landing. If you've never seen RIMWORLD before, you've got these lovely little pawns. Oh, Boxer is our dog, by the way. Adorable. I probably won't go. I'm going to pause it real quick to take a look at what's around us, but I'm probably not going to go into huge depth about a strategy or how to play the game. If you guys want, and if you're new to RIMWORLD, I will probably do a tutorial video just to get people settled in and how to start the game, because it is pretty complex, and it's it's kind of like Banished. You might go okay for a minute, and then all of a sudden your people start starving, or they're freezing, or you have a cold snap and everything is going horribly. The first couple things you'll notice off the bat is I've got a ton of mods in place, so you'll probably see more tabs down here than are normal. We also have a mod that shows our moodlets, our mood icons here, in a background color, which is super convenient. So if you see anyone turn yellow or red, you can immediately click on them and find out what the problem is. Also, we have a UI mod that gives you a nice condensed skill list. I love this mod, by the way. I have to look back at the mod list to remember exactly which one it was, but it does show you everything right off the bat. So I can quickly click on Cyberdank, for example, and find out, oh, he's the one who's super good at medical stuff and cooking. We want to find someone to issue a rifle to. I think that is Azazel. So let's give Azazel the rifle. And the rest of you folks can just pick up whatever is around. I do like to arm everyone right off the bat, just in case. You never know what's going on in this world. Let's go ahead and give everyone the right click and unforbid. So that means everything that came down with us is now unforbidden. Okay. So what's around us? Okay, so the northern area is where the rest of the mountain is, and normally that's how it is. You have one part of the map that is tons of mountainous terrain. Now I like this spot where we landed, actually. Normally I'm really picky about it, but I like that we're right next to a river. We're right next to the mountain. It looks like there's a ton of iron here too. This is a really big, steel deposit. I normally like to do a little bit of digging into the mountain because I've played a ton of Dwarf Fortress and it's just built into me to strike the earth a bit. Here's some of the cave network we saw in the preview, the overview screen. And inside of these caves, you sometimes find creepy mega spider xenomorph type creatures. We want to be really careful if we ever venture in here because they can very quickly overwhelm your pawns and kill them. What we'll probably do, now they don't really even venture out of their area for the most part, although there can be some tunneling involved, and we'll get into that down the road. We might even just bar this off with a wall and come, draw them out at another date to murder them and harvest their goodies. I do believe you can actually get some kind of a hive paste from the hive as well. But either way, it's only one cave. That's not too bad. If our traders come in the map, they normally come along the edge here. So hopefully they won't, you know, for any reason, just randomly go up and through. Although, I could see if someone wants to exit the map here, and they're at our base here, they might choose to go up and over. So we might actually put a wall to make sure none of our visitors get killed. So what else? Where else could we could set up in this area, although I don't like having the slate stuff right in the middle of our base. We have a geyser there. There's a geyser here, so we'd have to be a little bit careful about that. Not a ton of... We actually could... Oh, I think I like this. I'm thinking we tear this down, this limestone wall, this little building here, and we build our farms all along the river. I think that's going to look really, really cute. Really nice. And I think what I normally do for making... The way I design my farms is I try to put a wind turbine at the head of the farmland so it overlaps in the... This is kind of the area of effect. So if there's a tree anywhere in this area, the wind turbine won't work all that well. But however, crops don't affect it whatsoever. So maybe below the steam geyser here, because you can put a geothermal vent on there, this will be our farmland running down along the river because it just seems pretty nice. This central area might be our main base. Now, the way I design the base may not be the most natural. I'm kind of very much a min-maxer, or I try to make things really, really efficient. So I'll probably have one interconnected compound or house, like a really long compound with ceilings across everything. Maybe I'll put a lot of nice areas to come hang out at, though. And we'll do that. Now, alternatively, we could set up somewhere like right here. This is a huge open space, lots of room to build. Although what I don't like is that there's tons of openings and you'd have to wall a ton of stuff off. I guess to be fair though, same case here as well, but I do like having the mountain at our back because we can dig into this eventually once we find ourselves a miner. Okay, I'm pretty set on that idea. I think we're going to go right here. We also don't want to build too close to the buggers, so I think I'm going to leave them alone for the most part. Alright, let's get to it. What do we need to do right off the bat? Okay, let's set up a couple orders to chop down a bunch of trees. I did mention I want to deconstruct this tiny little house here. I'm going to mess with the jobs a bit. I want everyone to help cut plants. I want everyone to grow plants. Only the people who are good at constructing will construct. And we will eventually get to micromanaging the jobs later on. Probably at the next episode, because right now we just want to get everyone to start working and get our rough idea of what we're going to do. We can use the planning tool here to kind of plan out what we're going to do as our base layout. I'm thinking something like a long house like this. Probably squished up right against the water here. And I could go a little bit further down, but the problem is that this geyser here is going to cause a bit of a problem. You can't really build over it. And down the road, we will want a power supply on that because it's a great source of power. Maybe we'll set up a really tight, compact area here. We might extend down this way with actual building and walls. But down the road, we'll find a miner and hopefully dig into here. We could have basically one long entrance tunnel and have buildings or you know, rooms or living quarters off of any of the directions here, off the main corridor. So that could be a decent option. Okay, so for the moment, though, we'll pretend that, and I'll tell you what, I'll make this marker so I don't forget. This will roughly be our pretend invisible hallway. And what I love to do in this is kind of how I do in Dwarf Fortress. You know, these could be our future dormitory areas, for example. A 5x5 room is way more than enough space to make people happy, but I like to give them, you know, live a little bit in luxury. You're having it pretty rough by just having to survive a colony failure. You know, your ship just got destroyed. You saw a bunch of your friends burn up in the atmosphere. The least we could do is give you some nice digs. So this would kind of be a couple of wings down the road. And again, blueprints, these planning tool here, this won't do anything. No one will start building here or anything like that, but it's just more of a visual reminder of what I wanted to do in the future. And we could build right up flush with the mountainside so it turns into almost like a wooden structure outside, flush into the mountain. Oh, I think it's gonna look great. It's gonna look great, guys. So for the moment, we need a place to sleep. Let's go ahead and make a couple of rooms here. I think I'll do a 4x4 to start with, so that everyone has a decent sized room. And there's no lovers yet, so everyone will need their own individual bed. But since there's no lovers, we'll give them a... Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. Let's pretend, or let's say down the road everyone's gonna want a nice double-sized bed. So we'll give everyone a double. It does use up more wood, but that's okay. We'll spoil our colonists just a bit. A little bit of a door here, and perfect. Hopefully everyone can get this done quickly, and we'll be having a new our new bedrooms ready to go before the first nightfall on this new planet. I also need to give the remove floor, I think it is, remove floor option here. This should, underneath here, should be hopefully soil, and that's where we can build our farms. I do want to get our farms out as soon as possible as well. I'm going to speed things up. What kind of animals do we've got? We've got some alpacas, a couple of turkeys, boomalopes. Boomalopes, by the way, do explode when you shoot them, so when they die, actually, so that's annoying. Ooh, there's a wild male timber wolf. What is our timber wolf? An older male timber wolf. Okay, and animals actually can reproduce. Yes, they can. So you can grow your own little stock of animals over time, which is awesome. And actually a really valid strategy down the road. You just have to make sure they're all nicely fed. Alright, it is approaching the evening time here. You know what? We need to set up... Who is our night owl? I think it's Azazel. Because Azazel seems pretty grumpy compared to everyone else. And if we check the bio, it is the night owl. So what I'm going to do is go into the restriction tab. And I'm going to click anything. And drag, left click to drag. And I'm clearing Azazel's schedule. I'm basically saying you can do anything you want between all hours of the day. And now I'm saying I want you to sleep 8 hours in the middle of the day. So this will have Azazel sleep during the day. It will trigger that night owl bonus for being awake at night and sleeping during the day, which is pretty important. Next up, we need to think about our food storage. So we'll probably plan for an expansion over here. 2, 3, 4. So eventually we'll have someone else join our colony. So we'll plan for another bedroom here. Maybe a 3-wide hallway. I think I'll push everything right up to the edge of the water. I think we can actually build right there along the water's edge. So this will be our compact little area for food storage, maybe. We'll do 1, 2, 3 space. No, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we'll do something like this as the food production room. This will be the food storage room. I'm probably making the hallways way bigger than we need to right now. And this will be kind of a multi-purpose area. So we'll have maybe a small room here for people to eat in. And the rest of it will be used for kind of like research or construction or things like that. Okay. That works for the moment. This will all be refined down the road. I mean, normally my bases probably would take up... If I had a full base, I have a go-to design that I normally use, and it would actually take up this entire space here. But I think I like working with what you've got and going from there. Can we have anyone work on... Can you work on removing floors? You'll only do one at a time. That's fine. I probably should stop giving them building orders and get the farms going. So in terms of the farm area, do we want to have the wind turbines up against the water's edge? I think that's fine. So we'll do something like this. And I'm going to pause this construction, by the way, so that we don't start actually building it yet, because we're not at the point where we can even store the energy coming out of the generators yet. But I'm doing this so I can see the footprint, so to speak, of the generator, I guess the restricted area. So I think this is like a 7 by 10 or something like that. We'll go snug up against it, 7 by 10. Oh, we can't build here yet because it's all poor flooring. But this is the general idea. So you can see how the digging area is all within that this space under the generator here. So we'll do another one. Where am I going wrong here? Okay, I went too far down one edge here. That's fine. If you actually build a zone, by the way, if you make a square and it's highlighted like this. If you build another, like say you want to put another square next to it, it'll actually connect them. So what you need to do instead is whenever you're done making a zone, you have to like kind of click away so it's no longer highlighted, and then go into another zone, and they actually won't connect when you put them right next to each other. Well, I overrode that, so that's a bad example, but if I put these right next to each other, you see they're two separate zones here. Okay, so we'll do another growing zone here. It's going to be 7 by 10. I do want to have these different items. So you're already planting, or you're cutting down trees here. Let's cancel this, because we need to fix the floor first. Oh, we actually already did. Did you finish everything? Let's have everyone focus on removing these floors real quick. You know what? It's almost nighttime for people though, so I don't want to... You don't really want to force them to do the work because they get a little bit upset if they don't take their normal schedule. So we'll get to that tomorrow, but we'll plant potatoes here because you already did drop one. I will do hops down here because what kind of a colony can survive without alcohol? I will also hide this kind of colored zone to indicate that we have a growing zone or any kind of a zone here because we know that this is a farm. So we're going to have potatoes, hops, cotton, and then corn, I think is what I'm going to go with for the first harvest. I also can probably... I'll tell you what, why don't we do this? Let's also make a huge zone here. And we'll call this zone... What do we want to do? Do we want to put down trees here? Or do we just want to have a ton of extra corn? Like a giant, you know, massive acres of corn here. Let's do that. Let's make this our corn zone. And we'll make the other crop that comes up here something like cotton. Azazel is our night owl, so that's why Azazel's staying awake right now. We'll kind of power through the night. There's not really a whole lot going on. I don't have a research bench set up for Azazel, so right now there's not a whole lot Azazel is up to other than maybe starting to plant. You know what? We also need to... Yeah, I do want to do this. I want to do tilled soil. This is a mod that increases the ground quality from 100% fertility, which you see down here, to 200%. So it's even better than putting it on the rich, fertile soil here. Is this mod OP? I don't know. I tend to like it because I think that if you put the effort into making this kind of a, you know, making this dedicated tilled area, that it should give you a higher quality. You know, it's basically like you spent your time improving the soil. That makes sense to me. So we're actually going to do this for all of our farmland. I'll wait till the floors are removed for that area. And so they will till the soil. They're basically turning up the soil, turning it over, making it loose, and aerating it, removing any big boulders in the area. So there's a lot of manual labor. It's basically a day's worth of effort. And from that point on, that soil will yield 200% gains, basically, on all of the crops. So it comes in handy. I think it's really strong. What else can we do? We can set a disassembly order on the ship chunk because it's right in our hallway. I can also start putting down a couple of production units, like the electric stove. Let's also put down the butcher table. And we want to put a door between the kind of the butcher room and the storage area. This is going to be all of the nice cold storage down the road once we have power and everything like that. While everyone's working, I'm also going to put a big stockpile here. This is going to be kind of a generic everything stockpile. I'm going to make one big stockpile here and a smaller stockpile, and I'll explain those in just a second. And then a dumping stockpile here. Okay, so when you put a zone out, it gives you everything by default. So a default, you know, when you do storage stockpile zone, it gives you everything checked off. So what I want to do in the dumping pile is only allow fresh animal or mechanoid corpses, because then our people will butcher them right away. So that's going to be the preferred spot. In this tiny area, I'm actually going to put, it's critical that we store medicine here, because you can increase the length of time the medicine lasts by storing it in a cold area. Finally, I'm going to make this the preferred spot for food of all sizes. So hay, chocolate, raw food, meals, that's all fine. We'll put all that here. And we'll also add in wort, which is hops when it's been processed or put through, you know, fermentation. Neutromine is a drug that helps you with medicine or creating medicine. I think that's all we have to worry about. Maybe drugs too. I'll tell you what, let's do drugs in this one. Sounds good. Okay. And then everything else that we didn't really check will go into the first stockpile. But because it's on normal, like see how it says drugs here? But because we have a zone that has a higher preferred priority, it'll go to that zone instead of this zone. Okay, so, oh wow, they've already done all the tilling of the soil. So we've already got our crops coming in, starting out here, which is awesome. They did finish the removing the floor job, I think. Is that right? Yep. They did do that. Wonderful. So we'll do the same thing here. Oh, there's actually a zone that's just chilling out here. So we'll do the same thing for the tilling soil on the new areas that have been kind of cleaned up by the floors. And 7 plus out to 10. Perfect. And then I'll also put the growing zones over these areas. 7 by 10. And 7 by 10 again. So what are we doing here? I think I said it's hops, potatoes. We'll do another crop of potatoes right next to the first potato one. And we'll do something like maybe heel root. Oh, no, you know what? We need cotton. Let's do cotton for the moment. We'll do heel root down the road, but cotton's really important to start stockpiling because you eventually get your clothes all sorts of torn up. I also don't like how this steam geyser is right in the way of leaving the base, but you know, we'll adjust the base down the road. We'll probably move all of the residences deeper inside and we'll flush this up. We'll kind of make this all nice and straight. And this will be a bigger area for all of the crafting and food storage, and we might make the exit to the base somewhere like over here and have a nice walkway. We can always be pretty fluid with it. I enjoy changing things around a bit and kind of reacting with the atmosphere. In terms of defense, the nice thing is if people are attacking us across the river, they do have to go a bit slower. So their walking speed reduces by 30%. So we can set up a nice, almost like a pillbox here. We could actually start it just to have it in case anyone attacks really, really early, which again, we are on a mode that I'm not familiar with. We're on the harder version of the Cassandra one, right? Not Phoebe, it's Cassandra. So we might get attacked pretty early on. So I think I'll put a couple of sandbags down. I don't know which direction the enemies are going to come from yet because they haven't attacked us yet. Also, I want to go ahead and get some clear fields of fire here. So I'm going to clear out the trees generally around the sandbag so that my marksmen and markswomen have a nice clear line of sight to shoot people with. The range on the gun is actually really, really far. I wonder if I can, let's see, what if you're trying to hunt this alpaca? You can't hit it from there, but you can actually attack it from here. Look how far that distance is. That's a pretty long shot. So it is a long range for the rifle. It's not exactly all that accurate, but the higher skill will of course help us with that. Logan isn't the best shot. I think Azazel is, but either way. Okay, let's go ahead and hide the rest of these zones. So it just looks like normal crops. Awesome. Okay, this is the step we want to be at, where you've got our safety net. We've got kind of our, you know, our buildings, our I'm having trouble thinking of words like bedroom. We've got our bedroom set up. We also need to put down our research bench. Simple research bench. Does not require power at the start. So now Azazel will have somewhere to work. They do not like working outdoors, but we will have this closed in once they have more wood. No problem there. I think this will be close to where we wrap up this episode. I'll probably let this go for a couple more days, but the next episode I will work on the kind of the refining of the jobs and making, you know, setting the jobs where we want it to be. Also, normally pretty early on you do get some kind of additional settler in the form of someone who can get kidnapped, or someone just comes into your colony, or someone crash lands in a shuttle that you can try to save and rescue. So we should have someone joining us. I don't know who they're going to be. I will probably grab someone from our Discord list to name them. But yeah, this is going to be a fun playthrough. I'm really excited. I love RimWorld. I love all the mods in the game as well. Let me show you what I mentioned earlier. So Azazel basically has the goal of being a transhumanist, right? They want to have a bionic part instead of the fleshy, weak human body that they have been born with. So we can actually, under the health tab, under operations, we can create a bill, which is basically a job. To harvest, or not harvest, we can basically do a remove one of their feet or something like that. If you, now I think it's, oh, this one's different. Normally you actually had a job to like cut the leg off or something like that. But if it's not really exactly a I don't think a peg leg will satisfy the transhumanist desire, but if we had more advanced bionics, like if we had a bionic limb, for example, we could cut off her foot and attach that bionic limb, which is hilarious. We also can, when we have people get, if we actually manage to capture any enemies that are attacking, we can in fact cut their organs out and take their organs. However, unless everyone in your compound is a psychopath, some people will be very upset about stealing organs. And it actually, I didn't know that when I first started. I thought it'd be like a very small minor moodlet. No, everyone got really, really pissed. First off, that I harvested it, and then that person died from me harvesting it, so they were pretty upset. I'm like, look, you can get a pretty decent buck for a liver these days, but I guess they weren't having it, guys. I'm gonna let this run for just a few moments. It's a very peaceful game. It kind of reminds me of Banished a little bit, except Banished didn't have people coming to attack you every couple minutes, but some of the music is really nice. It's got this Western themed survival-ish kind of Outlander music going on, a little bit of Wasteland-ish music. What else is roaming around our zone right now? Oh, one of the other mods I had, I don't think I talked about it. Instead of having to go to the social tab to see what people are talking about, you'll actually get a little pop-up here just to see what's going on. So you'll see the interactions live as they happen, which I think is kind of cute. So, is anyone flirting with anyone yet? Did Logan rebuff anyone? She's in a field with two guys here. Have they been chatting her up a bit? Adnamir tried to attract Logan by lauding her appearance, and Logan shot down Adnamir. That's rough. That's pretty sad. No other amorous advances as far as I can tell. What about with Azazel? Azazel on a different shift than everyone, though, so there's not a lot of overlap in terms of when they get to hang out. But normally in the morning, I think, when Azazel is going to bed and everyone else is waking up, they might interact when they go eat. Okay, so we have some visitors. They're a little bit nervous to come into our colony because we have no beds, but we also have some insects. We're going to say, hey, you know what? Trust us. Don't worry about it. You'll be completely safe. And we're totally going to check you out and see what kind of skills you have. You also have creepy breathing. Maybe you and, who is it, Logan? That has the creepy breathing will get along well. You're neurotic and you're abrasive. Those are all pretty rough traits. The neurotic lets you work faster, but your mental break threshold is much, much higher. So I think the mental break is kind of like these little bars here. I don't remember. I think the type of break you have is based on how far down you are. So if your mood gets down below the first bar, there's a chance of you just having kind of a rough day break. Like, I think you just lock yourself in your room or you throw a tantrum. If your mood is all the way down to the bottom and it's below this lower threshold, I think you actually have a chance of having a very violent outburst. I don't remember. One of you folks that are really familiar with the game, let me know what the lines indicate. I'm fairly sure it's the type of break you get. But either way, this person, Astus, not Atlas, has chronic stomach disorder, a stab scar. She is 48 years old, and she doesn't really have... Well, she has some decent planting skill and crafting skill, but honestly, with all the other negatives, not someone I'd be really interested in convincing to join our colony. By the way, you don't have to just kidnap someone because we are using a relations mod. Not this one, sorry. This is actually just a tab that gives you relations between people and factions. There is a... maybe it's the visitor mod that does this, but you actually have a guest tab, and we can set some orders for people to interact with them. So, for example, we can say, hey, let's always try to entertain this person, and if we wanted to, we can actually try to recruit them. But we're going to make this the default. Everyone is always going to try to be entertained by our people. By the way, let's go ahead and set that. Who's our social person? Wasn't it the... negotiate skill? So Adnamir is our salesman. So Adnamir is always going to have the job to talk to people whenever it's possible. And luckily, you don't sit there talking to them forever and ever. It's like one social interaction, and it'll be done. So probably right now, Adnamir is going to try to improve relationships with Astus. So they'll talk about handshakes, and you know, it's like The Sims, right? They're just you know, doing their little voiceovers here. Nuago Wadigo. So they just had a nice little chat, and now her opinion is a little bit higher up, I think. I think her hospitality got boosted a bit whenever she gets someone to talk to her. The nicer your base is, for example, if you have beds for visitors and areas where the visitors can congregate, that hospitality meter continues to get higher and higher. If your people make a good enough impression, there is a chance that your guest will leave you a present. But the nice thing is, it overall changes your faction relations if they leave. So if Astus leaves with a good enough hospitality, she might help us to increase the faction relation with the Kin League of Colon. Aren't they the baddies? Aren't they the baddies? We have a relations tab. Who's the Colon? Where are we at? We're here. Oh, Colon is neutral with us. We're just 0 on the Kin League of Colon. Azazel is apparently just going to have a chat. Oh, that's right. Azazel also has the negotiate skill selected. So they're going to have a bit of a chat. So we've got our first set of defenses done, guys. So we're ready to get attacked if that ever comes to pass. I'm going to set an order to wall this off, by the way. I don't want our enemies sneaking right into this tunnel and then coming up in an area that we don't really have a good amount, a line of fire with. We'll do that. Looking pretty good. I like how this is going. We need to have a bit more of a stockpile of things like wood, for example. What I like to do also, by the way, is set up something like an outside stockpile. So think of it like how you might have a house where you've got all of your chopped wood, all of your firewood outside of the building lined up. We can get raw resources and wood and make this the preferred zone for wood. It kind of looks nice. You basically get wood stacked up. Okay, this is really important. I was hoping I'd get to this at the end of the episode. So, Logan thinks we're going to be here for a while, so what do we actually call our faction, and what do we call our settlement? And you can actually create different settlements. So if we get bored of this spot, we can go to a new spot and try again with our existing settlers. So, I'm torn. I always like to use something like, you know, somewhat optimistic, like New Eden or something like that for the settlement. I think that's pretty nice. It's got a nice feel to it. What are some of the random names? What kind of the Federation, Confederacy, Unification? How about something like in honor of our favorite character from Kenshi? How about we become the Beepian Confederacy? No, we'll say Union. I think Beep would believe more in unions than the title of Confederacy. So we as a faction are the Beepian Union. And this is the town of New Eden. I like it. Let's go with it. Our faction is now known as the Beepian Union, and this community is now known as New Eden. That seems like people will be attracted and come and spend money here and try to join us and hopefully not kill us, right? That seems pretty important. Was that our Timberwolf? Oh, there's a female Timberwolf here. You can actually try to tame these animals, but they do have a very high chance of attacking if you fail. Oh, actually, Timberwolf is only 10%. That's not bad. But you do have to have a certain level of skill in order to tame a animal. Wow, no one has any animal handling. So hopefully the first person we recruit down the road does have a little bit. Let me cancel that order. Can we just give that? Does anyone have any passion in animal handling? I think it's under handle. Yeah, no one has any interest in being an animal handler. We'll have to leave that for our first major recruit, whoever that happens to be. Yeah, Astus has some, but it's not even that impressive. Okay, and we also have our first little zone locked off, our big warehouse. So the first thing we're going to research, if I go into the research tab, this is also a different research tab, by the way, than the default. This is I think this is the community research tree. So the first thing we need is a battery. We don't have any way to store any power, and we need power to start getting the better types of equipment. So we'll do battery off the bat, and probably next episode we'll take a deeper look into the research tree. But yeah, this is about where I want to be, guys. I'm very excited to start this Let's Play. I probably said that I wanted to wrap like, 15 minutes ago, but that's okay. We need to focus on getting ourselves some food to supplement until the first harvest comes through. Although it does look like it's already growing at, it's growing 200%, which is what the ground is. If you look at the bottom left down here, the fertility is 200%, so they are growing very, very quickly. Look, some potatoes here, some cotton, some hops, tons of corn. I love it. It's a very, very agricultural-based settlement. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this first episode. I always welcome, if you're new to the channel, welcome, first off. We only started this channel just about a month and a half ago, and we're already getting lots and lots of feedback. It's been so great to have the positive feedback. If you're a fan of RIMWORLD, if you have any comments or suggestions about this Let's Play, please leave them in the comments below. I do encourage you to, if you don't like something I'm doing, if you think I'm doing something wrong, please let me know, because I will be first to tell you that I will gladly make tons of mistakes in this game. It's just part of my nature. I love to do, make mistakes, learn from those mistakes. I love to involve the community in the building of the colony as well. So please leave me your feedback. In the read more section of this video, if you click read more down at the bottom, you'll see a link to our Discord. So please feel free to drop into the Discord. We are probably mostly talking about Kenshi at this point, but it's just a general place for gamers of all ages. It's also, I'm in my mid-30s if you don't know me that well. So if you're a bit of an older gamer, you're welcome to stop in and join us. We have a lot of a mixed crowd, a lot of Europeans, a lot of Americans, even some of those crazy Canucks up north. So please join us. And I also do have a Twitter, of course, at ToblePlays. If you want to keep updated with what's going live or what's going into a playlist, you can follow me on there. Thank you all so much for joining me for this first episode. I do look forward to much more successful RIMWORLD gameplay. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.